Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to the Christmas episode
The
of
Christmas special episode, yes.
Hello, the podcast. This is episode 49. And I am.
Also,
Yeah,
the final episode of the year, gents.
it is.
We get to sneak in just one more episode before the year 2021 wraps up. One more final one.
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you going to say as well?
I was just going to say who you were, but I think people know who you are.
Look, I would hope being almost 50 episodes in, people are familiar with who we are.
I think so.
You would hope so. But for those that aren't, I am obviously Ramo. This is Jen's, my
Hello.
lovely co-host. I'm sure you guys are familiar with us, or I would hope at least. But yeah, like Jen said, episode 49, our last episode of the year, the Christmas special. As you can see, we are both quite festive. It is very warm here in Sydney. So this Santa hat might be a bad idea. I guess you'll see at the end of the episode if I'm covered in sweat or not. But yeah, no. So we'll see how we go. Jens, before we get started with a couple of our, would you say it's news topic? Not really news topics. We're doing a bit of a different episode for the final one of the year. We're doing sort of a look back at the year that was in video games.
Yeah.
With some of our favorite games of the year that we have played, or have played enough of to be able to get an sort of taste of. And then we also wanted to do a little segment on our favorite topics that we've covered this year, because we were just sort of doing a little bit of research as to the things we've already talked about. And it's insane just how much we've covered this year, gents. You know, like 50 episodes almost doesn't seem like a lot.
No.
But if we were to go by like topics covered or like amount of news covered, it's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a ton that we've gone over this year.
And it's
So it's kinda hard to
been
pick.
like a big year. Like this is our first complete year as a podcast, so that's kind of huge.
This is
as
true.
well.
This is true. This is very true. Yeah, big milestones. Big
Yeah.
milestones. But yeah, before we get into that, diligence, what
Mm.
have you been doing for the past week since we last talked?
I have been doing some Christmas shopping, which is always fun
Ooh, yes.
and very stressful.
They're not stressful at all. No. No.
It's very stressful when you're waiting on Ozpost, particularly.
Yes.
That's not fun.
They are. You know what? Actually,
Mm.
they've been surprising. For me, I have ordered 2 things off Amazon for Emma. Just 2 days ago. Both of the things have arrived already.
Oh wow!
So
I mean, this is
Amazon
Amazon.
is on the ball. Like they're on the ball. But even like just recently when we were doing our Secret Santa stuff
Kris
between like us
Kringle,
group of
yeah.
friends. I asked the lady at Ozpost when I was shipping it down to Hula. I was like, roughly. I know, obviously, like, you know, it's Christmas time coming up, and I'm assuming people are flat out, you know, going crazy with it. And I was like, just roughly, how long can you expect it to take? And she was like, about 3 to 4 days. And I was like, you know what? That's not bad at all,
That's
considering
good.
just how much on the news I've heard about like how much Ozpost is under pump,
Yeah.
especially down in Melbourne, and like Hula's down in Melbourne. So I was like, oh, I hope it like doesn't get stuck at that depot center, where there's like months worth of mail still backed up and you know all that. But it seemed to have made him down within maybe just after 4 days. Was probably like 5 or 6 days closer to.
Yeah,
I was like,
good.
damn, that's pretty good, you know, considering. So, but yeah. But other than that, obviously, I know what you've been watching.
Have you started it?
No.
I've been
I'm a busy
watching
man, Jens.
Arcane, and I did.
You know what? To my surprise, Jens, to my surprise,
Yeah.
I was not expecting to get a message from you, of all people, to be like, hey, watch the League of Legends animated TV show.
Look, you don't
You
need
know?
to put the League of Legends in front of it. That doesn't matter. It's called Arcane.
Yeah.
That's all.
Oh, yeah, okay.
It's. Like, I need to talk about it. I just need to talk about it. So yeah, we watched like the first episode like a while back, but we never went back to it because there's so many shows now.
That's the thing, is like I get all these recommendations to watch shows.
I
and
know,
I'm
I
like,
know.
there's not enough hours in the day, you know? Like
Oh, I know. And like once you're stuck with a particular show, it's hard to then pull away from that show to try another show. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
I get it. But we were like, we kind of ran out of stuff. And so we were like, oh, maybe we should go to Arcane because people keep saying it's really good. I really want to know what happens.
Yeah.
And so we were on episode 2 and then we had to watch episode 3. And episode 3, like I did say, is
that you said to me was the like sort of like the pinch point, I guess, of the first season. Where
it
like
is where
really...
you want to get up to if you haven't, for some ungodly reason, gotten hooked on it on episode 1. Episode 3, just like your socks are already off, but like
oh, okay, it's one of those. Okay, all right.
I just couldn't believe it. So yeah, I'm fully into it.
Yeah. Is there? I feel like I've heard news that there's a season 2 on the way. I don't know if it's officially.
I didn't actually
confirmed or
Google
not.
because I'm still going through it. But
yeah, it
I
could
wouldn't
just
be
be all the hype
surprised.
that I've seen surrounding it, or like people are asking for a season 2. But
Yeah.
I was in the same boat as you. I haven't watched any of it yet, but just scrolling Twitter and Reddit, I've seen a lot of people really praising it. You know, either because they're League of Legends fans or not. You know, like Jen's not a League of Legends fan, which is why I was surprised.
I have no clue what.
And so would you? Yeah. So it seems like it's accessible to people that haven't played the games and aren't familiar with the characters that are already in that world. And
you don't need to know a single thing about League of Legends or like League of Legends too, and like this.
So it's probably just inspired by League of Legends. It's not even like it's using any of the story and stuff that is, if you would call League of Legends.
Well, I don't even know if League of Legends has a story. Like I was like, where is this coming from?
The characters I feel like would have lore as much as like it'd be similar to Siege in a sense. Like Siege, the game itself doesn't have, you know, a story to it other than people are bad and you're good and you have to kill them and then you swap teams. But like the characters themselves that you play have lore behind them. So I feel like that would be the extent of, you know, the story in League of Legends. League of Legends stands come at us. You know, I'm not too sure. I've never really played the game, so I'm not 100%. But I would assume that is the case.
If you're free over Christmas, all I'm gonna say is Arcane. Come on.
Because how many episodes is it?
I don't know. I haven't looked.
How many is it? Yeah. Okay.
I want to say like 10.
I'll have to add it to the list.
Please. What about you? What you been up to?
Work.
Right.
Yeah. Flat out. People being crazy. Christmas shopping, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, here in Sydney, people are under the assumption that there is no pandemic anymore. So they're going about things like normal. It's kind of scary. Because I have never gotten as many COVID-19 pings on my Services Without Walls app throughout the whole last 2 years. I haven't gotten any more than these past like month or so.
Yeah, right.
It's kind of crazy. Like, you know, but yeah, no, I'm still trying to lay low, stay safe as best I can, because, you know, I'm under the impression that I will eventually get it at some point, just being in my line of work. You know, it's sort of inevitable, but I've just been trying to hold out. Like, if I can at least wait until after Christmas, I'll be happy. You know, I don't want to have my Christmas ham locked in my room or anything like that, you know? And I want to at least taste it if my symptoms get that bad. I don't want to have that no taste, no smell type deal going on. So, it's I'm trying to wait and see how I go. But I think I finished work for the week now until Boxing Day. So I won't be going out unless I desperately
unless you
need to.
Yeah.
Other than that, I haven't been doing too much really. Just been sort of fanboying over Tom Holland for the past week or so. You know, I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but this small indie film, Spider-Man No Way Home, came out just recently here in Australia. And so a couple of us went and saw it. It's all right. It's kind of good.
We will be talking about it later. Our proper thoughts on it, which will be spoilery. So if you don't want to know anything, just don't listen to it. Just go watch.
I feel like it's almost impossible to not spoil or talk about it without spoiling it.
Yeah, because
just because there is so, like, the film, like, when it starts, and this is not a spoiler, but when the film starts, it it is at a sprint pace, like it runs straight into, here we go. There's no warm up. There's no and it picks off right where
no foreplay.
The previous Spider-Man one kicked up. Yeah, no foreplay. They were like, hey, we're going in raw. Let's go. And yeah, so it gets right into the thick of it quickly.
But yeah, we'll talk about it more later.
We'll talk about that later. Yeah, so if you guys have seen it, stick around for that. If you guys haven't seen it, you don't want to get it spoiled.
Yeah,
probably not the episode.
Just don't listen to it.
Yeah. But yeah, enough of us, gents. Did you want to jump into what we thought were some of our favorite games of the year? What we're calling the best of the year for us? This isn't our opinion. This is sort of by no metric other than, did we enjoy the game? Yes, we did.
Yeah.
So starting us off, It Takes Two. A lot of people's game of the year. The Game Awards is game of the year. I don't know if I'd call this my game of the year, but it is up there in terms of, enjoyment factor and all that sort of stuff. And the story is quite engaging too. We talked about it, I think, just last week. But it's definitely up there for me. Jens, what about you?
I agree. It's not my game of the year, but I loved it. I think it was such a different type of game to come out, and something that I've been wanting to come out for a while, in the sense of a local couch co-op kind of thing. Well, not even local, online couch
not
co-op.
even local. You can still do online couch co-op, but it is probably meant to be played as best you can in couch co-op, sitting right next to your partner or your friend or whoever you're playing with.
Yeah.
It is probably the most ideal way to play it. But there is still the option to play it online. But yeah, it's good because not many games these days have the option for just 2 players or couch co-op, or are even developed in It Takes Two is developed solely to be played in co-op. I don't think you can play it single player. I don't think that's possible. So it is solely meant to be played in co-op. And like I said, there's not many games these days at all that are coming out with that sort of feature, even thought of. It's either single player or you get giant multiplayer with 600 different people all playing at once. It's crazy. And it's quite a relaxing game too. It's not super intense. You're not sitting there hunched over the controller, really trying to get into it. You can sort of just sit back and you can take your time and you can enjoy it. And I really appreciate that for it. So it is it's definitely up there for us. Next on our list, though, gents, I think the only horror game. Actually, no, one of 2 horror games on this list. Yeah, one of 2 horror games on this list. Resident Evil Village or Resident Evil 8. Giant step forward for the Resident Evil series. Giant step forward.
Yeah.
People loved this too.
I think it was it could be my game of the year.
It's hard. In this list here, I don't know if I could pick a 100% definitive game of the year personally for me. My one that I would think is the closest is coming up in a couple of points.
Okay.
I don't think I can Yeah, you could probably assume what it is, but I don't think I could give any game a definitive
100%
game of the year, which is kind of weird because we have had a cracker year of games. This list is bonkers.
But I wonder,
this list is kind of crazy.
Yeah, but I wonder if it's because there have been other games that have been so good that it's I don't know, they were both really good, because that's where I'm at.
Exactly. There's a lot of tiebreakers. Yeah, there's a lot of tiebreakers on the list where you could compare them.
Possibly 3.
This one's so good, but this one's also just as good. But
exactly. But it's good for a different reason, and
Exactly.
So
exactly.
I'm gonna say RE Village is my game of the year 1.0.
Asterisk. Yeah, with the asterisk next.
Yeah.
No, Resident Evil Village is great. I recommend everyone plays it, even if you're not into horror, because it
I wouldn't call it horror.
It's sort of, as much as it is a horror survival game, it does start to steer away from the spookiness after about the first hour. You kind of get used to it. You kind of get you settle in and you're like, okay, great, here we go. And it sort of turns into a more action survival game after that. The scares don't get you as much and all that.
Yeah,
so
the scares go very quickly, and
yeah,
I think it's just that's the beauty about it. I feel like you don't feel so tense all the way through. Like there are moments of like scariness and tension, but I don't know.
That adds to it too. That adds to the whole gameplay of it. Like it helps to make those moments like that much sweeter, I guess. Like when you get through that tense moment, like you can sort of just feel the pressure like leave your shoulders, and like your grip on the controller just like loosens up, and you're like, okay, I can chill now. Like I'm cool. I'm fine. Like it's kind of nice to like release that and be like,
yeah, totally. Right, so yeah, Village did it really well. So
and if that is the reason you guys haven't picked up Resident Evil Village yet, because of the fact that like you're not really into horror games, so you're sort of like concerned that it might be too scary, pick it up. Like it's so good. Like I said, after the first hour and a bit, you're probably over the scares, and that can be said for all of the more recent Resident Evil games. I feel like Resident Evil 2, the remake for that, I felt like after the first hour, I was just holding shift and sprinting around the Raccoon City Police Department. Like nothing sort of spooks me. Like the jump
Mr.
scares.
X is a bit.
I don't even really think like in films and things like that, jump scares typically don't get me either. So it could just be that. It could be a personal thing. Where I'm not jumpy and jittery in that sense. So that could be it for me too. So take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, in these Resident Evil games, I feel like after a while you sort of get over the spookiness, and it turns into a more of a survival game where you fear for your life more than you fear for the spooks that are around the corner, you know? But yeah, no, Resident Evil Village, very fun game. Highly recommend it. Definitely pick it up if you can. It should be pretty cheap as well coming around this time of the year, because it's been out since like February or March or something like that. It's been out since the start of the year. So it should be on a pretty decent discount if you guys were willing to pick it up. Yeah. The next one on the list, Jens, kind of took me by surprise as to how much I actually enjoyed it. Because I'm not the biggest fan of these horde games. Like I sort of get sick of them after a little while. I'm like, okay, I've seen it all. But Back 4 Blood took me by surprise as to how much I enjoyed it. I was not expecting to enjoy it this much.
I loved Back 4 Blood. I thought it was so good. Yeah. The card system was really interesting. The difficulty was like, it's hard. And like
they really improved on that from the beta, because that was one of the things that we said in the beta was like we kind of felt that like even playing on hard, it was just a bit too easy. We felt like we were just mowing through them. And like that was the thing that turned me off it, I think initially, was the fact that like I played it and I was like, it just feels boring because you were just holding like left click on the mouse and you were just like, you just win. You know? Like there wasn't a challenge, there wasn't stress, there wasn't like we didn't have to communicate with one another because we could just hold left click and just like mow through them all. But when the actual game released, they threw a 180 on us and they said, psych, you know, it's a lot harder. And like it was fun because we were communicating, we were coming up with strategies, we were like figuring out the best like kit out for each of us to have to make it the most efficient like route possible. Like it was fun, you know?
Yeah, it's punishing and it's so tiring to go through, but oh my god, it's so much fun. And like it's a 4-player co-op, it's great. It's on Game Pass as well. So I highly recommend.
I think in the new year they're also bringing out like a co-op mode too. So if you're not one to, I think we covered it like a good couple of episodes
you
back.
Can do solo.
Like they released that roadmap. Yeah, I think that was one of the ones they were adding in too. So if you're one that doesn't really like playing with big groups, or you don't have like as many friends that are willing to get it, and you've only got 1 or 2 friends that want to play it with you, pick it up, because it's such a blast. You know, it is a lot of fun. Yeah, and there's a lot of replayability to it with the whole card system, like Jen sort of mentioned before. Because I was worried about that too. I was worried like, okay, once we get through the campaign, that's it. Like there's nothing really else to it, you know, because there's only so many times you can go through the same campaign just on a harder difficulty. But the cards really, I think, add to that replayability factor, because each time you go through the story or the campaign, you could get an entirely different run through depending on the cards you use. You know, absolutely. Like it can flip the whole game on its head. So it's really fun game. Highly recommend that one too. Next gens, Forza Horizon 5.
I think
this would be up there for a lot of people's game of the year.
Yeah, like this is
their game of the year. This is your second pick?
This is my second pick.
Yeah. I think I would have to agree with you. I feel like this would be my number 2 on the list of games that came out this year, because it was a blast. You know, it was just fun. Like we played it with a big group of friends sitting in the Discord, like just driving around Mexico and whatnot. Heaps of fun, you know,
It's just
and like it's quite
beautiful.
simple. It is. It's so good looking. It's an incredible. I was honestly surprised at just how good they made it look,
Mm.
even on my like 5-year-old PC, 6-year-old PC now. Like I was worried that I wasn't gonna be able to run it
Yeah,
like
right.
nicely, but no, they've optimized the shit out of it. It runs smooth. I had maybe one crash the entire time we've played it. Um, it's so much fun, and like it's simple in the fact that it's just a racing game.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing really else to it other than maybe a little bit of exploration and a couple of like fun little game modes. But it's just driving. But it's just fun, you know. Because it is a Horizon game, so it is more of the arcadey racer compared to the normal like mainline Forza games or
Mm.
the Gran Turismo games, where they're a bit more sort of leaning towards the simulator side, you know. So they're a bit more for the serious racing fans. Forza Horizon games have always been sort of leaning more towards the fun aspect of the racing games and the driving games, and that's why I love
Yeah.
them so much. And you know, they turn it up to 11 with this one. The fun is just there. You know, right out of the
Yeah,
gates, as soon as you
absolutely.
start the game up, that big epic intro, you know, all the cars flying out of the air and whatnot, and then you just get to let loose and discover Mexico in whatever car you desire. You know,
Mm.
from A to Z, there's tons of them.
And you get
Yeah.
so many cars so quickly, like
Yeah,
you don't feel like
there
you're
is a
missing out.
constant. No, there's a constant drip feed of cars and new
Yeah.
cars too, and you're not always getting like this. You're not getting like 3 sedans in a row. You get like a
Yeah.
supercar, then you'll get like an off-road car, and then you get some weird like in between buggy rally car thing. Like, you know, you just always get something different to keep you enticed and, you know, learning these different, you know, models and all that sort of stuff. And it's great fun. If you
Yeah.
have Game Pass, like Jen said, pick it up. Yeah. Oh,
I can't
so much
recommend it
fun.
enough.
Yeah. No.
Is
Now moving
is
on.
this your contender?
This I feel like it would be the closest one to the top of my Game of the Year list. And it's Guardians of the Galaxy. I was pleasantly surprised with this game. I started playing it a couple of weeks back now. Um, and it's just a ball of fun. You know, it is incredible. The story is really engaging. The characters are funny and witty. It looks real good. I'm playing it on my PS5 currently.
Oh yeah.
Looks exceptional for what it is. The combat can get a little bit repetitive from time to time, I've noticed at the moment. But I feel like as I sort of progress through and unlock more of the character's abilities, that'll start to open up a bit more. And it'll, you know, be a bit more dynamic and things like that. At the
Mm-hmm.
moment, it sort of just feels a bit linear in the sense that I'm just, you know, either shooting or hitting square to like sort of punch them. There's not too much difference that I'm doing. But like I said, as soon as I start expanding their roster of move sets, it'll probably, you know, get a bit different. Um, and it's just, you know, it's a nice game to sort of at the end of the day lay in bed. I turn my monitor around, I lay in bed, and I just like, you know, get to play it. There's the nice 70s and 80s soundtrack to it,
Yeah.
which, you know, is very nostalgic and fun because it's sort of like what I grew up listening to, like on mum and dad's radio. They would always have those tunes playing, and so like, you know, you get to hear them again. Um, and it's just, yeah, it's real fun. I do recommend it if you guys see it on sale. I picked it up while also was on sale just
Oh,
recently.
nice.
Highly recommend it. Yeah,
And
it
I
is a
think
ball of fun.
it won writing or narration. I don't know.
Yeah, it
Story of the
it, it,
year.
it won like best story or something like that at
Yeah.
the Game Awards, or something along those lines, to do with the story. And I think I would have to agree. You
Yeah.
know, I think I think they hit the nail on the head for all the other games that were in the list. This one and like maybe It Takes Two and maybe Ratchet and Clank as well
Mm.
would probably be up there for the games that had pretty good story, and this one is really good, really good. I was concerned, like, and why I waited to get this was I was sort of a bit taken aback after the Avengers game that came out like
Oh
last
yeah.
year,
Of course. Yeah.
whatever it was, and so I sort of waited, and I was like, "Oh, I'll see how other people perceive it first and receive it," and you know, and then I heard great things, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Sold, you got me." You know
Yeah.
what? I'm in. I'm in, and I'm really glad I pulled the trigger because it's a ball of fun. It's great.
I'm glad you're
Highly
enjoying it.
recommend it.
I need to try and
Yeah.
check it out.
Yeah, the thing is though, like if you wanted to stream it, you would have to
I
put it
probably won't
into
stream it.
you would have to put it into streamer mode, which
Yeah, and I
sucks
feel like
because like,
that'll
and
ruin
did
it.
see a bunch of people stream it when it came out, and it would ruin, I feel, some of the like the big epic moments that I've come across so
Yeah.
far, where they have like the big songs going on in the background. They really just add to it and add to the flair and the excitement of like the thing that's going on in the game. And
Mm.
without that, I feel like it would lose a whole lot of its charm.
Yeah, for sure.
So, but yeah, no, definitely want to sit down after stream and have a go at, because it's a ball of fun, a ball of fun.
Yeah.
Next one, kind of a weird one because it's not a new game by any means, but it's a big update for the series. We're going to talk about the Minecraft 1.18 update. Me and Jens and a couple of other friends have put in a fair few hours into this. Actually, we have a little server going, and it's crazy just how much of a change this is for Minecraft. Like, it's huge.
Like,
and I mean that in a literal way, because the caves are massive.
Yeah, and that was the main thing about it. It was the caves, right?
Yeah, it was called the Caves and Cliffs updates, and so basically they just increased the size of the world vertically, and under the world. Like they turned it all up to 11, and so the mountains are crazy huge. They span like both width and height now. They're huge, and these caves, like the caves before, were kind of big because like you'd go down and you'd see you could be in a cave for an hour or two and still discover new things. You could be in caves now for days and still be discovering new lanes and things. Like they are
it's
massive.
So cool.
It is honestly incredible how huge they are.
Yeah.
It's a whole new learning curve too, because they've tweaked now, because of these caves, they've tweaked how some of the ores spawn and like whereabouts they spawn and things like that. And for someone like me that's been playing Minecraft for like quite a while, it adds this whole new learning curve to it, because you got to sort of forget all that you've known about mining in the past, and you've got to relearn it and start from scratch again, which is exciting, because it was the thing that I fell in love with in Minecraft initially, was like the whole figuring things out and the searching and the discovering of these things, because there's no real tutorial in Minecraft. At least back then there wasn't. Nowadays there's little hints and tips that pop up to sort of help you along your way. But it's one of the things that I love the most about these sorts of games, is they sort of just throw you in this sandbox and like, all right, good luck, have fun.
Yeah, pretty much.
And you just get to discover things on your own, and it's so much fun, I love it. It is also now on Game Pass too, I think, Minecraft. So very similar to Back 4 Blood on Forza. If you have Game Pass, you can also check out the new Minecraft update. And I would recommend doing so, especially if you have friends too. I feel like Minecraft's real great with friends, because you get to discover things like together, and it is just chill. Like, we all just put Spotify on in the background and just zone out and sort of mine for a couple of hours at the end of the day, and it's great. And you get to let out your creative side too, and like build houses or like statues or monuments and things like that. It's just, it's a lot of fun. But yeah, moving on, Jens, you're the only one out of the two of us that has actually played this. So I'm going to let you talk about this one, because I'm yet to play Halo Infinite.
Yeah, well, I've played Halo Infinite multiplayer only. I've yet to try the campaign, and I've never tried the Halo series ever, so either way it's fresh to me. But saying that, as a newcomer coming from shooters to the multiplayer, it's actually quite a lot of fun. Like, the time to kill is so long. So that's a big difference.
They got the shields.
Yeah. That's a huge difference, and like having to manage that. So grenades are basically your best friend. But it's so much fun with the verticality, the movement of it, the maps, and like the vehicles. So and the different weapon stuff. Like, there's so many different types of weapons.
There's a huge variety of weapons. Yeah. Where
So
Call of Duty, they all do sort of more or less the same thing. They're like, it's a bullet. It just depends on how strong the bullet is. Like, there's the needler, there's the normal assault rifle, there's there's
like
bazookas, there's these huge sniper rifles. Yeah, like the variety of weapons in Halo games have always been kind of fun. So
and to like
cool, sort of
have the sci-fi-ness of it plus the normal bulletness of it. It's great. So I would recommend
it's a good merge.
Trying it if you are keen. But it's also
free to play too
on Xbox Game Pass.
Yeah, honestly, Spencer, you gotta like hit us with some ad reads or something shortly. Like, with the amount of times over this last year that we have shouted out Xbox Game Pass, honestly incredible. And I think it's a testament to just how good the service is.
Honestly,
like the fact that we're willing to talk about it. Not that we have the right to have a sponsorship by them, But the
Yeah.
fact that we're willing to talk about it so much, just because we do enjoy it so much, is a real
It's a huge
testament
testament, yeah.
to how it is. You know, like it's yeah. I don't think I've talked about anything
Neither.
more this year other than Xbox Game Pass, just because of how good it is,
I
like, and
don't
how
think I've
useful it is for someone in our position too, like where we like to sort of play the new games as they come out and things like
mm,
that as fast as we can. It's so good, you know, like
yeah. Like I've never pushed a subscription like I've never loved a subscription service,
no,
but this is the
yeah,
first one I'm
especially
like
these
this
days.
is worth it.
Yeah, like a couple of years ago when the only subscription service in Australia was
Yeah.
like maybe Netflix and like maybe one other thing like Amazon Prime Video or
PlayStation
something like that, you
usually.
know? Yeah, and like your PlayStation or Xbox subscription, like you were okay with it because it was like maybe $90, uh, you know, in a total year of Netflix, and like about the same for Game Pass, for Xbox Live, sorry. But
Yeah.
now there's like, you know, there's Netflix, there's Amazon Prime, there's Disney Plus, there's Binge, there's Stan, there's Paramount Plus now, there's like I have KO Sports and Stan Sports and Optus Sport. Like, you know, you're paying monthly for PlayStation Live, you're paying monthly for Xbox Game Pass. Like there are so many subscriptions. And so I always hate when I see like a new TV show coming out and it's like
Mm,
it's on this brand new subscription service. I'm like,
I
damn
know.
it. It's like I'm at the point where I'm tapping out now. Like I physically can't fit any more subscription services
Yeah, it's too
in
much.
my inbox. Like it's too much. So, but yeah, the one that I will always recommend to people, especially gamers,
Mm.
is Xbox Game Pass because it's just so good. And like the amount of games that you get for $15, like
Oh
Halo Infinite
yeah.
is a huge game. It's massive. You know, the people have been begging for this game for years now, and you get it for basically $15 a month. Like it's incredible. It's incredible.
Nuts.
Yeah. Moving on though, Jens.
Yeah.
Ratchet and Clank Rift
Mm.
Apart. This would probably be my like tied second and or third for like my list of game of the year, just because of how, again, very similar to Guardians of the Galaxy, just how much fun it is. Like
Yeah.
it's a ball of fun, you know.
And
And it
this
takes me back. It's nostalgic too, so
yeah,
and
for
maybe that's why I
you.
enjoy it so much. Um, but yeah, it's just I love this game so much. It was great.
Yeah, and I think it was the first one to like showcase how good the PlayStation 5 controller is.
Yes,
Was
not
it?
just that too, but like its fidelity and things like just how good they can get games to look. You
Yeah.
know, like with all the ray tracing and things like obviously people have experienced ray tracing in the past with their PCs, but this is a more consumer friendly version of that, I would say, because it's a bit easier to go out and buy a $750 PlayStation 5
PlayStation, yeah.
if you can, rather than a $1,800 GPU, which you then also need to buy about $3,000 worth of other PC components to go alongside it. You know, like it's a
Yeah.
big ask to get ray tracing for a PC, where it's a bit easier these days now for a console. Um, and so it was. It's a beautiful looking game. It runs smooth. I didn't see any stuttering. It's fun from woe to go. The characters are enjoyable. The new female Ratchet is fun. Rivet, she was
Mm.
a great addition to the whole cast and lineup of characters in the Ratchet and Clank universe. And like I said, it was just nostalgic because I grew up playing Ratchet and Clank like on my PS2 and whatnot. Um, and it's great to see them still being like the majority mascot for PlayStation. If you would call it that, I guess, because I don't
Yeah.
know who else I would pick to be. Like Aloy would be up there. Like Kratos from God of War would be up there too. Like PlayStation had a lot of awesome characters, but Ratchet and Clank are like, they're the babies. They've been there sort of since day one.
Yeah.
You know, um, and it's a great game. The only thing is, it's probably a bit expensive at the moment still because it is like a first party PlayStation game. So I don't know
Mm.
how how much it's going to come down in the Christmas sales. But if you do see it for a decent price, I would highly recommend picking this up, especially if you have sort of maybe a younger gamer in the family that hasn't played Ratchet and Clank games before. This would be a great introduction to the whole series for them because it's fun, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I highly recommend this game to anyone that hasn't played it yet. I'm gonna try and get Emma to play it. I think when she finishes sort of her backlog of current
Of
games,
games, yeah.
I'm gonna try and get the PlayStation 5 into her hands and get her to play this because I feel like this is a real good sort of introduction to the whole universe too. You
Mm.
know, um, it's a lot of fun, a lot of fun. Next on our list, Jens, is another one that you're a big fan of. Do you want to talk about this one for us all?
Gladly. Little Nightmares 2. I freaking love Little Nightmares, and the second one was really good. Like, I just love the series so much, and I think they did so well with it. And did you play it? I can't remember.
I'm yet to play it. I know it's on Emma's list. I
Oh,
think
okay, yeah.
I think she has it. She just hasn't gotten around to playing it
I
yet,
feel like
if I'm
she
not
needed to
mistaken.
play the first one.
Yeah, I think she started playing the first one. She got a couple of hours in and she didn't end up finishing it because something else came along to sort of distract her
Yeah,
for a bit. So I think that could be it. But
yeah.
yeah, it is definitely on her list. Emma's the same boat as you. She saw you playing like that first tidbit of Little Nightmares 2, I think, or one of the DLCs for the original Little Nightmares.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah,
was like,
yeah.
this looks fun. You know,
It's
this looks
great.
great. And then it ended up just the week after that, on the Bandai Namco website, I think it ended up going free. And so I was like, Emma,
Oh,
download this shit
sick.
ASAP, you know? Yeah. So she jumped on it,
Yeah,
and started
nice.
blitzing through it. But yeah, I know you were hanging for this game for a while. Like ever since it was announced, you were
Oh,
on the edge of
yeah.
your seat waiting for any sort of news that would come out on it. And it was, yeah.
It was so good, this one. So I love it. Yeah, it's up there on my top of the list for sure.
Yeah, and it's real interesting in the way this game and this series specifically does its storytelling, because there's no real, like, there's no dialogue really. It's sort of all done through either random
Imagery.
grunts and imagery and stuff like that. You know, it's not like it's not very on the nose, so it's very interpretive, I guess you could say.
It is,
And
yeah.
it's, yeah,
Like the
it's
creatures.
very interesting.
It's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
good.
It's,
I
yeah.
need to play it again. It's just so good.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I would also recommend this one too, because this is also very similar to Resident Evil Village. Looks scary on the outside and looks spooky, but once you start playing it, it's
Although Little Nightmares
something completely
2
different.
does bring it up a notch in the sense of it is quite scary, like
Yeah,
suspenseful.
there's some parts as well where it's quite suspenseful and quite stressful. Yeah, I have seen
Yeah.
that. But yeah, still, I don't think it's as bad as what everyone makes it out to be. You know, I feel
No.
like and this could just be watching from an outside, you know, sort of
Yeah,
perspective, but
maybe.
it seems a bit less scary than what they make it out to be, I guess. Um, but yeah, I do recommend this one too. This one does look like a ball of fun. Maybe a controversial addition to this list, gents, but Battlefield 2042 is also on here for both of us. Maybe not for the
With an
right
asterisk.
reasons. With an asterisk, it's, yeah, as much as it does have its issues and its problems, I did still enjoy what I have played of Battlefield. It does take me back to playing, you know, Battlefield 4 with my friends after school and whatnot, sort of every day for God knows how long. That game was a
Yeah.
blast, and sort of this does remind me of that. And that could very well be why it's on my list of things, just because, again, of that nostalgia reason. But it's, yeah, and you know, it's just the whole, it's Call of Duty turned up to 11 again, is sort of
Mm.
a good way, I guess, to describe it. Just because there is just such a vast scale to the Battlefield games that you don't really get in many other shooters, especially like AAA shooters like this. There are probably ones that come close to it, but they're probably a bit more indie and whatnot. But yeah, so as much as I said, it does have its issues. I feel like after a while, they are going to get ironed out. Battlefield do always
Yeah.
sort of have this problem where they release the game, and for the first like 4 or 5 months, it's a bit bumpy, and then after that, they
Yeah.
sort of iron some things out. They get their footing. They sort of release that first DLC for it, and then people are like, okay, I this is what it should have been 5 months ago, but we finally got it now, and I'm coming around on it. You know, like
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
So yeah, I feel like it still deserved a spot on the list towards the bottom,
Mm.
obviously. You know, like it's not up there, but it's still towards the bottom. But I still feel like it deserved a spot on this list because it is, you know, it's such a big step for the series too. Sort of like going back to a little bit of its roots in the sense that it's just not another World War II shooter, which people have gotten a bit sick of
Yeah.
in this past couple of years. So it's, yeah. But what about you, Jens? Have you enjoyed what, like, sort of you've played of Battlefield? Because I know you're not the biggest Battlefield fan compared to some other shooters, but
Yeah.
you know,
I still don't like vehicles in Battlefield, but
yeah,
I really enjoyed my time in the beta, even though it was one like map and game
one
mode.
map, yeah.
But
Hmm.
I think the tornado, like all that type of effects were really cool, and that it was set in the future. Like the ideas are really cool.
But also not like in the not too distant future too, which I think is good, because I feel like it would have been a bit too much. Like,
like
obviously
not
people have gotten a
jetpacking
bit sick of.
around.
Yeah, like I said, like people are sick of the whole like sort of World War II and World War One sort of era of these shooters that have been around for the past couple of years now. And I feel like people would have been just as sick if they had jumped from that to, like Jen said, like, 3042, for example, where people would have been flying around in like hovercrafts and like, jetpacks and all. Like people would have been sick of that right from the get go and wouldn't have even picked it up. So I feel like they hit a good middle ground putting it in 2042, where it's in the not too distant future. It's about 20 years down the road from now. Obviously things have progressed a little bit. Some of the weaponry is a bit more advanced. Some of the vehicles are a little bit more advanced, but it's still very similar to what you would expect. To be. It's grounded.
Yeah.
Is I guess what I'm going for.
Yeah. They just need a big patch for some of the things, and they'll be red as rain.
Yeah, they'll get some more arrows out of us for sure. For sure. Another one that again isn't new by any means, but I feel like deserved a spot on this list because of its big updates that have come out throughout the year. Sea of Thieves. Now, Jens, you unfortunately didn't get to play much of this at all because of your motion sickness that you suffered from quite badly. Which I think is kind of disappointing because
it's really sad.
This year was so much fun. They were a blast.
I hear this DLC was really good.
Yeah, they had this big Pirates of the Caribbean DLC. Obviously you could probably assume why. They're both pirates and they both sort of fit in that same world. But they actually, got the rights, I guess, from Disney to use the likeness of Captain Jack Sparrow and a bunch of the other cast from the films. And they sort of got to Sea of Thieves it up a little bit and sort of create their own story and weave some of the lore from the Pirates of the Caribbean films with the lore from Sea of Thieves and some of like, the environments of Sea of Thieves. And it was just fun, like we played it with a couple of friends. I think so. Yeah, I think we ended up finishing it.
Oh, nice.
It's not too long. It's not like a crazy big thing. It is just sort of a little DLC update of a couple of sort of story missions, which go for maybe about 40 minutes a piece if you're sort of on the ball with it.
Yeah, okay.
You could probably shave off a couple of minutes here or there. But we were sort of taking our time and trying to soak in as much as we could. But yeah, it was kind of crazy to see them do this update, and I'm really excited to see the future of Sea of Thieves, to see what else they can do sort of similar to this.
Yeah.
Because it was huge. And people really enjoyed it. Other than that, they also did like other small little updates throughout the year to sort of keep you enticed and whatnot. But it's Sea of Thieves, I feel like, is the pinnacle of pirate games at the moment. I don't think there's much else to compare it to.
No, I mean Black Flag maybe is another
Black
pirate
Flag
game.
Is the next closest thing, but it's also like the pirating in that is to a much smaller scale, I feel, than to what it is in this. Because Sea of Thieves, you are 110% a pirate at all times, whereas in Black Flag, you're sort of like maybe only a pirate when you're driving the boat around from island to island and things like that. You're not necessarily more of a pirate on land. Like you're more of an assassin type thing. So, but yeah, it's just a blast of fun. And again, on our favorite servers, it's on Game Pass.
Same with Battlefield.
So you can pick it up there. Yeah, same with Battlefield. As long as you have the ultimate, I think, so you can get the EA Play side of it too. So you got to pay an extra couple of bucks, but I feel like it's worth it. But yeah, last one on this list, Jens. One that you actually had a fair few hours in and enjoyed quite a bit of. First Class Trouble, which I feel like has flown under the radar quite a bit this year. But yeah, do you want to tell us about your experience in First Class Trouble and why you think it deserves to be on this list?
There was a bit of a saturation with like Among Us type games around this year. I feel like with the huge success of Among Us. But I loved First Class Trouble because it had integrated voice proximity chat, and like that was the big thing about Among Us that would have made it really good. There was a mod.
You had to mod it.
Yeah.
Which was kind of confusing to also do, and you could only mod it if you had the PC version. So if you wanted to play it on mobile or like console, which I think First Class Trouble is also available on Xbox too from memory.
Probably.
So like you wouldn't have been able to mod it, because it's on a console.
Yeah, so with that, it was just fun with the ideas, like the styling of it, and like you're in a ship, but it's also kind of like 70s,
Yeah,
60s.
yeah.
I wish there were more levels to it, because there's only 3 levels in a game. So you get the starting level, which is very short. The starting level, usually no one dies in.
Yeah.
The second level, where things kind of ramp up a little bit, and then the third level, which is like, oh, we have a clearer
Quite
sense
tricky.
of who is who.
Yeah.
So it's a bit hard. But
Yeah.
they did add quite a few maps to like liven it up and change things around, because there's only so much you can do when it is a 3-level game.
Exactly, yeah.
But it's
that was
fun.
the biggest thing I think a lot of people had with, you said with the Among Us link before. I
Yeah.
feel like that's why a lot of people got sick of it so quick, was the fact that there were only 3 maps initially when it did blow up. And
Yeah.
so there is physically only so many times you can play those 3
Yeah.
same maps before you start to get like the burn in on your retinas, and you just start seeing that map wherever you walk, and you get sick of it after a while. So you got to like swap games, and you got to try something different, or wait for them to do an update, which thankfully Among Us did do an update and brought out 1 or 2 new maps. So I sort of leave it at that. But yeah, First Class Trouble, I think it was a bit easier to do because they're a bit, they were on a much smaller scale. So they didn't have the pressure of, 3 million people at any given time,
Yeah.
pestering them to release this update. They could sort of maybe take their time a little bit and, really, really focus it in and all that sort of stuff. But it's, yeah. It was a lot of fun. We did play a fair bit. It's good fun with friends in the same sense that Among Us is.
It's good and
like
bad.
you sort of,
yeah.
You get to see who the snitches are in your friend group, and you get to
see who
like
the
who your real friends are.
Bad. Yeah. You'll see who will throw you under the bus, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. But no, I do recommend that one too. That is a bunch of fun. And it's maybe $30 or something like that. So relatively expensive compared to a game like Among Us, but still on the cheaper side of things compared to some other games. But it's I feel like it makes up for it in ways, It's But that was sort of our best games of the year, our favorite games of the year that we've played so far.
Or like games that we remember.
Exactly, yeah.
Like we missed up.
It's probably a good thing too, because I feel like if we get some games, that's a good enough metric to feel like it wasn't that much of an enjoyable experience, or it wasn't that much of a worthwhile experience to have. Yeah, exactly. So yeah. But I want to talk about our favorite topic that we covered this year. I'm going to start us off by staying on brand. I feel like for me, just sort of glancing over all the things we talked about, and like I said at the start, we talked about a lot this year, so there was a lot to pick from. But I feel like just off the top of my head, the Insomniac announcement that Spider-Man 2 is on its way, alongside Wolverine, no less. They're making a Wolverine game.
Yeah, that's right.
Crazy news, huge news. That was it's got to be for me. Like I said, staying on brand. I love Spider-Man. I absolutely adored both the Miles Morales games and the original Spider-Man game. I love the Spider-Man game just a little bit more than Miles one. Cannot wait to see what they do with the next one. There's rumors that Kraven the Hunter's going to be in it. Obviously, Venom's going to be in it. Who knows what else we're going to see. It's crazy just how much they could go with. And there's also the chance that they could link it into, bigger universes again. There is the chance. So who knows? I'm just very excited for it. I cannot wait. I think it's coming out 2023, they said. So still a couple of years away, unfortunately. That was just from memory. I actually can't 110% remember.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's 2022. I think that was way too quick. So 2023 is the spot for me. Yeah.
Nice. Well, my favorite topic covered was episode 2 of this whole podcast.
Way back.
Yeah. Well, we started to talk about WandaVision, because that was, I think, the first time we spoke about it. And so I still think
that was actually the first, that's what started off that whole Disney Plus segment was WandaVision, because that was the first Marvel show to hit Disney Plus, you know?
Yeah, and it was huge, and it was such a great show. I love WandaVision so much. So yeah, that was good. And we also spoke about Super Nintendo Land, which was so cool. I am so sad about COVID and not being able to travel, but it'll be there when later down the track for us to visit.
Well, the benefit, I guess, if you can call it that, of COVID delaying all of our travels, Jens, is the fact that in 2023 they're opening a Donkey Kong expansion to Super Nintendo Land. So if we wait just a little bit longer, you know, when things start to sort of quieten down or people are a bit more comfortable with traveling and moving around, we'll go there and there'll be a whole new section for us to explore, which is going to be super exciting.
That'd be cool.
And that's the as soon as I saw that news, that was the first thing I told Emma was like, look, if we can and we're willing to, that's what we're waiting for now. I'm not going to try and be like on the first flight out to like go to Japan, you know, as soon as things sort of, you know, start to quiet down. I feel like I'll be smart, wait that extra 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 months, and go when they have the new station opened up, you know,
smart.
And make it just that extra bit worthwhile, you know?
Yeah, that was my favorite topic.
Okay, yeah, that was a real good one too, because that Super Nintendo Land one, like you said, that was a lot of fun, and we did that little like that like the viewing of the walkthrough.
We did go walk through it,
and it made me super jealous. Yeah,
I know,
super jealous. All right, now before we crack into what we think of both Hawkeye episode 5 and our thoughts on Spider-Man No Way Home, Jens, I do just want to talk about and touch on the plans for the podcast for the next year, because obviously, you know, it is the end of the year. This will be the final episode for the year. What me and Jens were thinking was we were going to take about 2, maybe 3 weeks off over Christmas and New Year, sort of just to, you know, put our feet up, recuperate a little bit, take a little break. You know, just
chill
and sort some things out as well for the podcast for the next year. So we have a couple of plans in the back of our head for like how we're going to tweak, you know, just sort of the visual appeal of the podcast. Maybe give it a fresh like a paint, something like that. You know, maybe a new logo or something along those lines. Just something to shake it up a bit. You know, after a while of listening to the same intro song for like the past year, you do get a bit sick of it. As I can say, you know, I edit these podcasts every week and I do get a bit sick of it. So it'll be nice to maybe find something else and, you know, and tweak it out a little bit.
We should try and make our own theme song. But anyways, we'll talk about it later.
You know what? I'm not a very good singer, but I'm down.
Look, it's fine. Auto-tune can fix anything.
This is true. This is true. They can make anyone a music star these days with a little bit of auto-tune. So you're not wrong. But yeah, and then obviously our first episode back next year when we do come back after that 2 or 3 week break will be our big 50th anniversary episode. I guess you could call it the 50th episode of the podcast it will be. And so this little break too just gives us a little bit of time to
prepare,
sort out exactly what we want to do, find some guests, you know, sort out exactly how it's going to flow. Because we're going to try and make it as exciting as we possibly can, you know.
Yeah.
Because it is, you know, obviously a big episode. And one thing, Jens, that I actually did forget to talk to you about before we did this, I'm going to spring it on you now and sort of get your raw reaction to it, which I'm quite nervous about. I did think it could be kind of fun to start like a blog, because I always have the problem of we finish recording on a Wednesday afternoon or whatever. We find some topics throughout the week up until Wednesday, and then we finish recording. And then by the time I upload it, there's been a whole 2 or 3 days worth of new news topics. And some of these news topics are huge because these studios like do these announcements maybe on a Friday or a Thursday or something like that. So they get that big weekend rush. And I thought it would be fun to have a blog just share between us so that we could write up like these little pieces just over the weekend, like, you know, a couple of paragraphs or something like that, just on these news topics or things you might have missed throughout the week or things that maybe just aren't as important to put in the recorded
into the
version
actual
that we can still just have in a blog. So it's just, and you know, and some people prefer to just read the blog like on the train to work in the morning or something like that. You know, they don't always want to listen to someone ramble on in their ears for an hour and a half every morning. They would prefer to read. And so I thought that might be kind of fun, you know, because it sort of sparked my mind. I just did a topic at university unit where we talk about sort of the evolution of blogs, and I was like, you know what, it might be a kind of fun like little tool to utilize, you know.
We can go on Squarespace and make a nice.
Exactly. I was going to say, we can talk about it afterwards and we can design this whole little thing and, but I thought that might be kind of fun too. So that will be in the plans for the next year as well at some point. So keep your eyes and ears peeled for that. And we'll see how we go with it all. But yeah, I think that's the most of the plans for the next year.
Yeah, that might be
before we take over an hour.
Oh yeah, true.
Sorry, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say there might be a few other ones, but we have yet to discuss them, so we shall see how we go.
Exactly, yeah. Some things we also want to keep a surprise too.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't want to give you too much. We want to keep you on your feet just a little bit,
Yeah.
But yeah, before we take over an hour, Jens, do you want to get your thoughts on Hawkeye episode 5? Now, I can assume you know exactly what I'm going to talk about in this.
Yes, I do.
Little segment. I'm assuming.
Before we go ahead, this is the start of the spoiler section. Yes. Marvel section. So if you do not care of Marvel, Hula, or spoilers, we will see you next year for episode 50.
This will cover both Hawkeye and Spider-Man,
yes.
by the way. We're not going to give you a warning for Spider-Man. We're going to start.
Spoiler alert.
Like there's alarms going off right now.
So just don't stay. Just don't stay.
No.
So yeah, Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. Stay safe, and we'll see you next year. Yes. And thank you for listening. If you've been here from the start, thank you so much.
For a whole year, yeah.
I know. So goodbye. And hello to those who want to stay. Just who want to stay. I enjoyed this because we have more Yelena. And
yes,
whenever I see Yelena, or I think it's just Florence, something oozes out of me. Not in a, okay, wait.
She is. Yeah, no, I get what you mean. Yeah.
Not physically. Feel the same. Just love for her.
Yeah, I feel the same about Spider-Man. So I get what you're going through.
Yeah.
And I can understand that because the way that she plays Yelena is
she's so
charismatic. She plays her so well. I absolutely adore the character of Yelena.
Me too.
And Florence Pugh seems like she really likes playing her, which is great. You kind of sometimes get the vibe that they might get a bit sick of playing the same character for X amount of time and things like that, and it kind of starts to show in performance. And obviously, she hasn't been playing her for that long. She was only in the Black Widow show, the Black Widow film, just a couple of months back. So she hasn't been playing it for too long, but she does still seem to be very much enjoying playing Yelena.
She's just perfect.
So it's great to see.
And so, I'm on a little obsession with Florence Pugh right now. I love her so much. Yeah. So I'm so happy.
Is she your phone's wallpaper at the moment, or?
Not yet. I am.
Not yet? Okay, yeah.
I will look it up. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I think it was a good one. And I know you are going to talk about something that happened at the very end.
Oh, I knew it. Oh, man. I honestly, you ask Emma, I was bouncing around the room like a little kid. Like it was, I almost tripped over the foot of the bed just because of how much I was running around it. I was ecstatic, and then they just they put this was already the cherry on top of the cake for me, because I've been absolutely loving Hawkeye. Like I've said a couple of times now, I think I'm fairly confident that Hawkeye is my favorite Disney Plus show to come out this year, even more so than WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier, the Loki TV show that we got. I feel like this is the one that I have enjoyed the most. I don't know exactly why, but it's really good. So this was already the cherry on top of the cake for me, was Wilson Fisk showing up right at the end of this episode. And then they got an even smaller cherry and put it on top of that cherry when they put Matt Murdock in Spider-Man No Way Home 2. And
you're going straight to it.
No, I'm going to talk about Hawkeye too, but this is the mini cherry on top of the cherry that I'm talking about for Hawkeye, they just doubled down on the surprise for me. But other than that too, other than obviously the big news that Wilson Fisk is the mastermind behind the whole, I guess assassination attempt on Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Like Jen said, Yelena really nails it. She's such a great addition to the whole cast and lineup of this show. And her interaction with Kate Bishop, in her burnt down apartment, was so much fun.
So good.
It was great. She and the way that she played it too, Like like Kate entered the apartment, and I liked it. Like, and Yelena was just like, "Oh, welcome home. Like, please sit down and enjoy this lovely meal that I've just cooked."
Yeah.
But then, like, right at the end of all that thing, you can just see her face like deadpan,
Change,
and
yeah.
she like flips
She's
on
like,
like the
serious?
flips on like the like the Russian sleeper agent thing, and she's like, "If you do anything, I will cut your toes off." Like, she just flips, and I was like, "Ooh, I got chills." Like, it was spooky.
That was so cool. That
And
was
I think,
hot.
yeah, she plays that so well. You know what? It was. I agree. I agree. Yeah. I would like her to step on me. Thank you. But no. It was so much fun, and I cannot wait. I'm honestly counting down the hours now until I get to go over
For the
Emma's
next
and
one?
watch episode
Soon, it's
6.
soon.
It's very soon, because there are tiny, 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 tiny rumors that a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man
Oh,
may appear.
what?
May appear. I don't know if people are just like sort of grasping at straws at this rate, and they're like, because Daredevil showed up in Spider-Man,
Yeah.
Spider-Man's now going to show up in this because Daredevil's also linked to it, which is, I don't know if people are
Yeah.
just grasping at straws, or if they're just like running off the whole excitement of No Way Home. But I'm not expecting it. I'm not expecting it at all, so I'm still keeping my expectations low. But there is that little sort of like cobweb in my heart, like down in the bottom left-hand corner, that's like, it's prepared,
Yeah.
it's waiting. But other than that, obviously, I'm excited to see more Yelena. I'm excited to see just how they wrap this up, because this is
the last one, right?
This will be the last episode. Yeah, we're only getting 6 episodes, which is quite short, I'm kind of sad because I love this show. I want more of it. Yeah.
Well, speaking of cobwebs, shall we talk about Spider-Man No Way Home?
I guess we can. Yeah, I guess we can.
Man, it was a perfect Marvel film.
Yeah. Honestly, 9.5 out of 10.
Oh.
I don't know if I can give it a definitive 10 out of 10, but a 9.5, maybe 9.995.
Okay. Interesting.
Like, it was like, probably for nitpicky reasons and
yeah,
things, but
yeah.
I honestly, I guess you can all, if any one of you sort of know me in any sort of sense, just how much I love Spider-Man. So if you guys have seen No Way Home, you can probably already just gauge what I'm feeling. Like, it honestly
tingly.
was like, it was like a dream come true, right?
It was
like,
so
I grew
good.
I grew up as a young kid watching the 1990s Spider-Man cartoon. That they only had like 2 seasons or something of it. Like, it was a very short run. I grew up watching that. I grew up reading the Spider-Man comics and, books and all that sort of stuff. I grew up with Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and watching those. Like, I very vividly remember going to the cinemas to watch Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3. In Spider-Man 3, I remember going to Event Cinemas and sitting towards the close front left-hand side of the cinema. This is how excited I was for the film. I remember going and sitting in the close front left-hand side of the cinema. And I remember about maybe 4 minutes in, where the scene, where the Venom symbiote, you sort of see the shooting star shoot across the screen, land in the field that's near Peter and Mary Jane sitting on the web up in the trees. They started to have desync issues with the audio and the video, and they had to move us all to a separate cinema to sort of restart it again, because the computer just was not having it or something like that.
Yeah, right.
And I vividly remember this just because of how excited I was. And I was like, if they ruined this experience for me, I'm suing. Like, I was maybe 9-10 years old at the time, and I was like, I'm suing. I don't care. Event Cinemas is coming down, and I will take them down. But no, thankfully it did work in the second cinema, so it was great. And then obviously, a couple of years after that, we got the Andrew Garfield Spider-Mans, and not a lot of people loved Andrew Garfield Spider-Mans, and I can kind of agree with some of their takes, but I still did enjoy the films as a whole. I was able to look past some of the flaws in them and still just enjoy them for what they were. And then in the recent years, obviously, everyone's loved Tom Holland and sort of his take on Spider-Man and things like that. But this was just the perfect culmination of all of my Spider-Man experiences growing up. This was just the perfect culmination, and I could not have been any happier, I don't think, with this film.
The thing So I didn't watch the trailers. Did you watch any of the trailers?
I did, solely for the fact that I knew it was inevitable that they would somehow make their way onto my feed, you know?
Right. Oh yeah,
So
that's
I
right.
just
That's
like,
right.
as soon as they came out, I just bit the bullet and was like, look, I'm gonna watch it because I feel like I'm gonna go insane trying to dodge it. Like,
Yeah. Like I
so yeah.
didn't know anything, so like I I kind of didn't know that um what Doctor Strange was going to be in it. Like that's how much I didn't know
Yeah.
about it. So
Okay, yeah,
I like the
cool.
whole like multi-universe thing of it having the OG Spider-Mans. I had all like the OG baddies. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was in shock when that happened, and it was so cool how they did like make them look younger.
Yes. So they de-aged Alfred Molina by about 5 years, I think they said, and they probably
Yeah,
did the
okay.
same for Willem Dafoe as well. They
Yeah.
didn't have to de-age Andrew Garfield. They probably just put a little bit of
Yeah.
makeup on him to sort of like maybe buff out the edges and things like that. But he's still young, so they didn't
Yeah.
really have to do too much to him. And I think Tobey Maguire, I don't think they honestly changed too much
I think
about
he
him
did a
from his
little.
like current appearance. Maybe a little bit, but like they still made him, obviously because he is naturally the oldest Spider-Man
Yeah,
in
that's true.
canonical sense as well, because his films were, around the early 2000s and things like that. So
Mm,
canonically, he would be a little bit older than the other two Spider-Men. So they didn't have to touch him up as much again, I don't think either. But they still looked exceptional.
yeah.
Like him being his age, both Spider-Man wise and acting wise, um, still looks absolutely exceptional in that skin tight suit. Like it was such a I cannot tell you the chills. Honestly, Jens, I still get teary eyed like seeing the some of those scenes with all three of them together. And like I
Oh,
get that little ball in my throat,
yeah,
like
yeah.
just because of how giddy it makes me feel, and sort of like how full circle it's come from like a childhood
I
dream of
know,
seeing
right?
all these Spider-Man together. And I kind of get it now a little bit. I kind of feel like that ball in the back of my throat. Um, because I literally I have no words. Like
Yeah.
I couldn't have asked for anything more perfect,
It was so cool.
Um,
It was
it was.
really well done, like to
Yeah.
integrate all of it together. And I love that they all had their um I'm blanking on the word now, but like the fact that
Mm.
Andrew managed to save MJ in this world
Yeah, they managed to have their own little sort of callbacks to uh I guess
to
maybe
their
their
own tragedies.
biggest downfalls and tragedies, yeah, as
Yeah.
Spider-Man. So like obviously I guess, the big final scene was Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man stopping Tom Holland's Spider-Man from absolutely obliterating
Killing, yeah.
the Green Goblin with his glider. Which I guess you could say is a callback to, I guess, maybe him feeling guilty that he
He
was the
killed.
cause of Norman Osborn slash Green Goblin's death
Yeah.
in that first film, sorry. Because it obviously ruined his relationship with his best friend at the time, Harry Osborn. And sort of he feels guilty about that. So I guess he kind of had that cathartic release of being able to, save him at least in one universe, or at least in
Yeah.
one timeline,
Yeah.
which is quite a cathartic release for him. Very similar to Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, where obviously in his world, he lost his version of MJ being Gwen Stacy,
Mm.
to falling down that big clock tower, and, breaking her neck and whatnot in the very famous, very similar way that comic books did it. And obviously he then got to save this universe's version, sorry, of Gwen Stacy slash MJ.
Yeah.
And he got that cathartic release from that too, which was real nice to see. So, and,
Yeah.
and there were lots of other little callbacks too to like, their past experiences in Spider-Man. Like,
Mm.
I absolutely like I have been having back issues for maybe the past year or two now. And
Oh,
so
that
I
bit? Yeah.
freaking oh dude, I looked at Emma with the biggest smile on my face when Tobey Maguire Spider-Man was like, "Oh, I've been having like middle back problems," because I too have been having middle back problems, and I was
Same.
like, honestly, I was like, holy shit, like this is honestly incredible. I don't know how they've managed to make it so that I'm relatable to Spider-Man, But I just it made me feel so happy, you know.
Yeah.
But it was obviously a callback to that scene in his films where like he falls down off the building, lands on a car, and sort of like ruins like he sort of slips a disc or something like that, or really, stuffs up his back. And you see him hobbling away, like whimpering, and he goes like, my back, you know. And so it was cool to see that he still is having the implications of that fall, like,
Yeah.
20 years down the line, sort of. It's kind of fun.
I also really like how they address that Toby was the only one who can make
Has natural
webs.
web shooters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a really
They had to bring it up.
interesting.
They had to bring it up. There was no way that you can go about it where you have all these Spider-Man meet for the first time and they're like, "Oh, let me just like attach my web shooters," and then he just has to put on his gloves and be like, "All right, I'm good to go." Like,
Yeah.
it would be quite weird. I understand, and it was fun how they did it too, because they were like, "Does it come out of any other orifices, or is it just your
Yeah,
wrist?" And he's
yeah.
like, "No, no, 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 not like that," you know. So it was a good bit of fun.
Yeah, they nailed
I
this
yeah,
one.
I
Oh my god, the
yeah.
mirror dimension. Every time they go into the mirror dimension,
Yeah.
I don't think dimension's the right word, but it always is
I know, I think
so.
I would call it that. It's a good enough descriptive word for it, I feel, yeah.
It's just
Mirror
so
universe,
cool
mirror
to
dimension,
see.
yeah.
It's so
It is.
trippy.
The CGI for that was so well done. It was crazy.
Yeah, and
And
the
it was bonkers how right before they went to that mirror dimension,
yeah,
you could see, obviously, uh, Doctor Strange, makes Peter's like conscience sort of float out of his
yeah,
body, like how he does that in, the Doctor Strange film. And you could see, like the fact that Spider-Man, like not in his consciousness, was still moving the box
yeah.
away from him,
That was cool.
because that was the spider sense in him, like moving it, because it's not just like something that's in his head kind of thing.
Yeah,
It's like it's a physical response that's
yeah.
like always in him and always switched on no matter
Very
what.
cool.
And that was really cool to see. And then I don't know if you noticed it or if you really picked up on it, but you could see when they did pan to like showing Tom Holland's face, like Peter's face in that scene, out of his like conscious body, you could see the little squiggles above his head, which was such a nice little
Oh,
callback
yeah.
to like that's how
Okay.
they've always like visualized his spider sense in the comics, and like obviously in the game too, the most recent game. That's how they visualize his spider senses with
Yeah,
these
right.
little yellow squiggles that come off. And like I was just like, holy shit, that was such a nice little thing, because it is like, they've been calling it the Peter tingle for the past
Yeah.
5, 6 years now, or however long Tom Holland's been Spider-Man for, and it sort of bugs me because it's like it's the spider sense, you know. But it was really cool to see them finally sort of at least acknowledge
Mm,
the, the growth of his spider sense, I guess.
yeah.
Like, and to see that it has that visual apparition, it was really cool. I loved it. Yeah, there were so many tiny little nods like that too that I feel like you would only pick up on if you were like,
Yeah.
a big Spider-Man fan, or like a big fan of these films that have been around
Mm.
for so long now.
I'd love to
But
watch
yeah,
it
because
again.
I 100%. I'm waiting just a little while until the crowds die down,
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
as
It's
much as it
quite
was great
fresh.
to go to the cinemas, and sit with like a whole like, sort of blocked out crowd, like I don't think there was any free seats in our session, maybe a couple like towards the front or something like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be
But
surprised.
and to have everyone cheering and screaming, and like I had two girls sitting next to me, that I could physically hear crying and things like that at some of the scenes, just because they were like either so sad or so happy that things were going on, and like I kind of felt the same, but I managed to keep my tears a little bit low key. I wasn't like
Oh,
bawling. I just,
really? I cried a
I
lot.
I cried, but I wasn't like these girls, like, like like you could hear them,
Yeah,
really
sobbing.
going at it. And I wasn't like that, but I was emotional.
Yeah.
But I think I would just like to wait a week or two until sort of the crowds die down, so I don't have as much of that distraction, because in some of the scenes the crowds were going that crazy, that I managed to miss some dialogue a
Oh,
little bit.
really?
Probably non important dialogue, but I still
But
managed to
still.
miss a couple of words here and there, and
Mm,
it bugged me a little bit. Um, because I feel like some of our crowd, understandably, they got excited, but I
yeah.
feel like they really milked it, and really
Yeah.
took advantage of the chance to sort of go ballistic, and it, yeah, didn't ruin the experience, but it was just a little bit of a a little bit of a hampering.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want to maybe wait a week or two before going and seeing it again, but I definitely do have another viewing booked in for some point,
Nice. Yeah.
I cannot wait. And now there's rumors too. I don't know if you've seen these rumors, but apparently Sony are actively considering continuing on and expanding Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man universe.
Interesting. I have seen now after this has come out, everyone's wants Andrew Garfield to have more.
Yeah, well, that's the thing too, because you didn't really like his two Spider-Man films. Like you said, you never really wanted to walk out of a film any more than those things. Yeah, he had two. He had the Amazing Spider-Man and the Amazing Spider-Man 2. You should definitely go and watch them.
I don't remember one. I don't know. Yeah, I've never wanted to leave a cinema until I watched him.
Yeah.
In there, I couldn't do it.
Can you deny just how good of an actor he was in this film? Like
he redeemed himself in my books so good. With this. He 1,000,000% redeemed himself from this.
Like I feel like everyone in this film gave honestly one of the performance of a lifetime. Like I have Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin, but without the mask.
He's still so scary.
He gave me chills when he did that flip or whatever, and you can dude, it was bonkers. And when he was sitting in Feast and he was a sort of normal Norman Osborn, he wasn't had the goblin taken over him at that stage.
Yeah.
Just the way he was acting, and he was sort of just oozing this fear of someone else taking over his mind was just so good. It was honestly incredible. And Alfred Molina back as Doc Ock was so good. Jamie Foxx killed it. He was funny. He was intimidating. He was great. Ned played really well. Jacob Batalon or whatever, he absolutely nailed his role. So did Zendaya. All the Spider-Man absolutely creamed
they all did amazing.
They were exceptional. They really, they turned it on for this. It was great to see. But yeah, I cannot wait for more. I physically cannot wait for more. What a time to be alive, honestly. And having said that, I said to Emma, I'm like, look, if they go into lockdown before I can see this, I might physically fight someone. I might get aggressive and I might demand to see it, because nothing was going to stop me from seeing this film.
Yeah, you were lucky.
It was dude, yeah. I said to Emma too, going the night to going there, I was like, look, honestly, if I contract COVID tonight, I will still be happy. I honestly couldn't care less. I would happily contract COVID, I think, to see this film, because it was just so good. In all things that have come from Spider-Man, like I've said countless times now, it was just perfect for me. Yeah. So, obviously exaggerating. No one really wants to catch COVID. But,
yeah, I know what you mean.
You get just how much I wanted to see this film.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's all I want to talk about. We better stop ourselves, because I could talk about this film for about an hour and a half on its own. So we better stop ourselves. I better go and edit this, because just in a couple of hours we have episode 6 of Hawkeye to watch. You know what? We might have to do a little just one-off episode, a 15-minute recap thing for it, just to post somewhere. Because obviously we're going to be waiting a couple of weeks till episode 50. So we might have
maybe we'll do the blog
for just this. But you know what? Yeah, maybe this will be the start of the blog. That's probably not a good idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jens, before we wrap up for the final time this year, was there anything you wanted to add
on? Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, stay safe. Thank you so much for listening. And like I said earlier, if you have been here from the start, thank you so much for sticking around. That is so nice. Yeah, that's all from me. What about you?
You pretty much took the words right out of my mouth. Thank you guys for listening for the past year. This has honestly been a blast. I don't think I've enjoyed doing anything as much as I have this. This has been really quite fun and quite enjoyable to sort of sit here every week and write up a couple of stories and do some research on things, and sort of just come and chat with a friend, and just sort of chat shit for an hour and a half sort of every Wednesday, and just sort of talk about fun things that we all both enjoy and love. It's a good bit of fun, and you know what, we'll be back again next year to do this bigger and better, and hopefully with a bit more fun and stuff like that involved. So yeah, like Jen said, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. And we will see you all next year. Bye-bye.
Bye.